Hey everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else, and what I would like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Jill McFeron. Jill, thanks so much for being on the show.
Absolutely.
I am so honored to have you. I know that there's so many people that are really excited about this one, so thanks you so much. So we definitely want to go into the series of questions that we ask every titan on the series to really let people know who you are and what makes you tick. So if it's all right, let's just dive right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Jill McFeron of Remax Properties, and I've been in real estate for 25 years. But down home, I'm just a Texas girl.
Wow.
I was raised 13 miles away from where they still base the West Texas crude oil prices to this day.
Wow.
So it's the home of the Santa Rita, the home of the Lost Cause, and I'm from Big Lake, and we're Reagan County Owls all the way, and
Wow.
just only left because of opportunity.
Okay.
You know, not much there, unless you're in the oil field or you raise cattle and sheep, but that's what my family did.
Unreal.
So our family, my grandparents actually met on the ship from Germany, landing in Galveston, Texas, going up to Homestead in West Texas. They've been there since 1890. Fifth generation ranchers down there, and my brother now is running most of the places. And my family actually controls over 100 sections of land. They're actually run between Big Lake, Texas, and San Angelo into Tom Green County, into Ozona, Texas, where my family's actually from.
Wow.
So yeah.
Coming from that background in Texas into Colorado, I mean, what brought you here, Jill? I mean,
Again, opportunity.
Okay.
What happened was I went to college and I graduated from Tarleton State.
Cool.
I'm a rodeo girl, so I had rodeo scholarships the whole time I was out there.
Wow.
And then went back to Tech to work on because I started off at Texas Tech.
Okay.
And so I pledged a sorority there, but I wanted to get more back into the rodeo because that's what I grew up doing. So I'm kind of stepping forward. But so I went to Tarleton, a rodeo, graduated in business, and went back to Tech to work in finance. I did my MBA. And didn't last. I was through with it. So then I went rodeoing with my sister and brother-in-law for 6 months. We traveled the country. He's a world champion rodeo guy that's actually here in the Colorado Springs Hall of Fame, Rodeo Hall of Fame. I've got a couple of cousins also in there.
Get out of here! That's great.
So we crossed the country rodeoing, and that's when I saw Colorado. Now the odd thing is that my mom actually went to CC.
Really?
But her family moved up here. And went to CC in the 40s during World War II, went back to North Texas where they're really from, and met my dad at rodeo. So went back and then married him. So that was before my time, so we were all raised in West Texas where my dad was raised. But so I said, my husband we always loved Colorado, let's go check it out.
Yeah.
And we did, and fell in love with it.
Rest was history. Okay, so going through that background and getting to Colorado, why real estate? What got you? What's your pathway to where you are today?
Well, all my life I just been told to work hard. I didn't know what that meant. Work hard? I thought I was working hard. I always had discipline.
Sure.
And I was a student athlete, averaged 25 points a game my senior year in basketball.
Wow.
I still had a record and run the 440 at my high school. So I've always been and always very active.
Okay.
But I didn't know exactly how to direct that. You have to realize that my little small oil field town, there's no such thing as selling real estate. Your family either has left it to the next child, or the house just kind of rotted away, or somebody just kind of moved in.
Wow.
Because it was only about 5,000 people, and it's very transient. It's very oil field related. So the town would swell almost two times its size on the weekdays. On weekends, then it would flush out to Midland, Odessa, or San Angelo, where their families were.
Wow.
So there was just no money in real estate. As far as your home was not your life insurance policy. Your home was someplace you lived and you enjoyed, and that's what you did. So I didn't even know the concept of real estate really, except that you should get in it because there's a lot of money in it. But I didn't know what it meant.
There you go.
So I took a real estate course at college, and I really enjoyed it. But I made a C. It's one of my lowest grades I made. It was summer school. I wasn't really paying attention.
Wow.
But it did kind of record. And so started off in banking. I got out of college.
Okay.
And then I was going to become a lawyer. That's what I really wanted to do.
Wow.
I'd gone to state and persuasive speaking. I really enjoyed it. but I didn't want the commitment. I didn't want more college debt.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah, very
So I just kind of waved it around. When I went with my brother and sister, I had the opportunity to meet other people, and I actually got hired by one of my brother-in-law's best friends in the Monterey, California area.
Okay.
He owned auction companies. And of course, it was right in my wheelhouse because it was cattle and sheep and goats, which I was raised with all my life. But on the weekends, we did police auctions. So
No way.
yes, and so that was back when it first started. They would expound and impound people who had drug charges and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And so we would end up doing police cars and boats, excess police cars there in Salinas County, boats. We did household furnishings, anything that they got from these drug peddlers.
Huh.
And then about that time, California was just booming because this was the mid-1980s.
Okay.
So in Monterey, they were selling their property off, but it was for huge profits. These farmers were.
Okay.
But in the Midwest about that time, so you're talking about Willie Nelson and all that sort of thing going on,
Sure.
with farmers going broke. Well, we would go and sell these farmers their tractors and household goods and stuff, because they were literally selling their homes because it was becoming part of the interstate.
Wow.
And they're going off and like buying property in Hawaii,
Huh.
right, or something like that.
Sure.
But they weren't. It wasn't on a sad event.
Okay.
But yet we'd have the Salinas TV shows come in with caskets like the death of the American farmer and stuff like that. So we did a lot of things like that.
Okay.
And then I got tired of that life. It was 7 days a week. It was a lot of stress.
Okay.
And by this time I had met Mike. I was living in Hollister, and I met Mike, my husband.
Oh.
He was in Monterey, and I answered. This is just so odd. I answered this weirdest ad.
Okay.
It was literally 2 lines. It was receptionist and the phone number.
Wow.
I just wanted, and I was just trying to go to Monterey.
Yeah.
That's where my boyfriend was. I was living, 30 miles away. So I'll just try it.
Sure.
I go and they call and they said, come to this address. Well, I didn't know the area at all. Got there, it was this huge real estate company.
Wow.
He was looking, it was the president and the owner, John Mahoney, and he had commercial real estate. He did Salinas, Monterey, Maria del Oaks. I don't know if you know those areas,
Okay.
all through there,
Sure.
Watsonville, Prunedale, and needed someone as his personal assistant and also help him manage his 3 office buildings.
Wow.
And that's how I got into real estate.
Just like that.
Just like that, phone number.
Literally falling into it that way. I mean, knowing what it is and going through and then taking the course, but that's so funny how that happened. So, all right, so you took that position. What was it like, and then transitioning into where you're at now? I mean, what did that look like?
Well, first of all, it was 646-1919.
I'll
never forget that phone number.
Steel trap right here. This is great.
And so I started working there for 3 years.
Okay.
And, well, first of all, self-confidence a lack of has never been a problem for me.
Okay.
So sometimes it's the other way.
Get out of here.
I
I
know,
can't tell
right?
that at all.
So I just watched these. They had 6 agents with him, and of course they were commercial, and 2 were attorneys.
Okay.
And I would sit there and I'd help them with their forms, and so just fill out things with them. I was the office manager / the gopher / the go to the bank girl / whatever, drive their car to the car wash. I did everything, every hat.
Right.
And I got to think, and I was also the person who wrote their commission checks.
Aha. All right.
Yeah,
Very key.
very key.
Yes.
And I'm 28 and not really doing much, and I'm writing these checks, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I'm gonna go take my test.
I got your number. That's really what you're looking at. Okay, cool. Very
So
cool.
that was back in the day when you had to drive to San Francisco in the Mission District, which is the worst, at that time was worse. You had to walk over the bums, take the test, and then they mail the results to you in 3 weeks.
No
Yeah.
way.
And
Wow.
so I passed my test there.
Okay.
But I never did practice there. I just worked with John and hung my license.
Okay.
But I wanted to get into residential. Things
Okay.
commercial, it just seemed a little cold to me. It wasn't, quite frankly, it wasn't fast enough for me.
Okay, that's fair.
It just wouldn't go. The 1-2 deals a year.
Mhm.
It just,
Sure.
and that's because I thrive on the pressure.
Yep.
And I thrive on the deal, and it just wasn't enough. And so my husband decided, you know what, I'll leave Monterey.
Mhm.
And it's because we've been there 6 years.
Okay.
And the interesting about it, no one leaves Monterey.
Interesting.
People eat beans and live in their parents' basements to stay in Monterey.
Eating beans in Monterey.
But my husband, he's like the first Monterey kid to ever leave.
Wow.
He goes, let's go. And so I said, oh, okay. It's kind of little skid marks probably still to stay, me leaving.
Wow.
Liked it. So we left and we traveled we sold our house, and at that time, it was late 80s, and no, sorry, it was early 90s, and I mean, the prices were like they were here, just inching up.
Wow.
So we had an opportunity to buy a home, lived there 2 to 3 years, I'd say, and then like it could not sell. But then you knew if you sold, you're never coming back. You know.
Sure.
Well, we believed that at the time, but now we know it's just like this,
It's
right?
cyclical, yeah.
So so we left, and what's the first thing we do? We bought a car. That's what you do, right? You bought a brand new car.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, and we got it, and we put everything in storage. We had a 1-year-old. We had Zach, our oldest, and he was
fantastic.
1. Stuck him in the car seat in the back. Got one of those carriers. That's where our whole life was for 6 months. And we zigzagged across the country, trying to figure a place to live. So the first thing they said was Austin, Texas. Well, by this time it was July. My California boy, he saw a sweat bead.
Yeah.
Oh, not again!
What is this?
What is this feeling under my arms, right?
Yeah.
And like, no. And he saw Shiner beer, and like, no.
Wow.
No way.
Wow.
So then it was, okay, not gonna be Austin. You need to go to Santa Fe.
Okay.
Went to Santa Fe.
Wow.
No. He goes, I'm not gonna build adobes.
Okay.
Because by this time he was thinking about getting into building trades. He was always a commercial painter and a painting estimator.
Wonderful.
There, but he always wanted to build, loved drafting, loved that sort of thing, drawing his houses. So he goes, no, this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to build brown adobes.
Wow.
So I said, that's when he said, well, you know what? Let's go up to Carter Springs. This time my sister was keeping our son, so let's just go up here. It was July.
Okay.
1991, and I don't know if you remember, but this was the repo capital of the world.
No.
And that was because Banning Lewis was under receivership.
Oh,
And that's why it was such a huge piece of land. That's why it got that moniker. But we came up here, well, and this sounds so pretentious, but we could not believe how inexpensive it was.
Yeah, sure.
And it had
well,
rained.
come on, coming from California.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That was not expensive coming from big like Texas.
Right.
But I'd been somewhere before then, yeah.
Yes.
So my life had changed a bit. So, and then the grass was just waving in the wind. Especially bought the piece of land here where we are.
Here.
And we saw this little
This is
cheesy
beautiful.
sign.
This is beautiful out here.
Thank
Absolutely
you. We're
gorgeous.
blessed.
Yeah.
So blessed. And then one was just one foot in front of the other. You know, ended up getting my license.
Okay.
And here, just transferred over here to Colorado and worked with the Rawhide Company because that's who you had to be with in Black Forest in 92. This time it was 92.
Sure.
And Doug Barber took me under his wing, and he is with PPAR now, and is still a dear friend.
Great reputation in the marketplace.
Yeah, and he actually tutored me for a solid year. We met, and I've learned everything I know under him and about the forest. And to this day, I'm forever grateful to he and Ken, his dad.
Wow.
They were wonderful people. But then again, you know, you think times change, things change. You know, you're young and you're ambitious.
Right.
And so I had 4 builders that I worked with in the 90s.
Wow.
And so I was out here exclusively. But I was a little bit of what you call an accidental realtor. I was a mom.
Okay.
So this time we had our second daughter, Ella, and they're in school. And my real estate career really took second to them and my husband's building and the other 3 builders I represented. And so I didn't really have to work much public because I was working with the builders.
Okay.
And then I was fortunate enough to do a 67 lot subdivision here in the forest. Awesome. And so things kind of just fell in hand there. Okay. But it was still very heavier emphasis on raising the kids and getting through that. Right. And I'm so glad I did. I can look back at women now, and I'm not sliding them for it at all. But I'm just thinking I couldn't do it. But then it was a different life then. Right. I will tell you how. Well, first of all, we had the books, no computer, right? And then you took your picture, you drove to town to the kiosk, stuck it in there, got your pictures, came back, scanned them. So a changing part of my life was I got that Mavica with the floppy disk.
Oh my gosh!
Because then I could stick it in the computer. I didn't have to drive to town.
For some of the newer real estate professionals that are watching this, that is going back. That's fantastic.
That is just key.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So it's kind of, that was kind of fun. That's kind of been where I am. And it's just, you look back and you kind of look at how far you've gone. You think you can't quit now because where you are now is just everything you ever wanted.
For sure.
And that's kind of...
I think it's fantastic, Jill. And that story, just to get to kind of where you're at, and it speaks volumes about your reputation in this marketplace and who you are as a professional. I mean, everybody seems to know you and really love you and respect you. So that obviously hard work and dedication and where you've positioned yourself with family and career, phenomenal. So everybody out there knows that that's the fact. So, but let's talk. This is a beautiful segue into what's your why. What makes you do what you do to the level you do it at? What gets you out of bed in the morning and excited for what you do?
Well, as we talked about, my why changes. It all depends on my mood.
Okay, I like this. I like this.
Just like my password.
Okay.
You can never ask, what's your favorite food? Because
Okay.
it could be tacos, it could be Japanese food, it could be Italian, who knows?
Depends on the day.
Yeah,
Yep.
depends on the day.
That's fair.
Same with my favorite color.
Okay.
But I would say my why began with the money.
Okay, sure.
For me, it was the best way to make the most money in the least amount of time.
Love it.
And because time is what I didn't have.
Mhm.
Time. And then now, I still have a real problem with people who don't respect time over money, because money is time.
I agree.
So for me, I had to get to the kids. I didn't want them in daycare, so I had, but we need a supplement.
Mhm.
So, and also, I just couldn't stay home.
Sure.
I couldn't stay home.
Okay.
So I just had to do something.
Mhm.
I'll probably drive. I'll probably die driving down Hodgen Road. That seems like our Woodman.
Don't say that. Don't say
yeah,
that.
just because that's what I do, and that's where I live. But I should just say that's my address.
That's great.
But so for me, it started off with the money.
Okay.
Then I think it swiveled to opportunity.
Wonderful.
And the opportunity, because in this business, I just can't think of another business that you can get into. And it used to be inexpensive to get into this business, but it's not now. That has changed.
For sure.
But to get in a business where there's just no ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
The harder and the quicker and the smarter you work, you're instantly gratified.
Agreed.
And for me, I just didn't want that ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Because even as a child, I was a girl.
Yeah.
Your dad has your age. Well, I'm a girl. This
Mhm.
doesn't matter,
Mhm.
you know?
Okay.
And that they like the cheap labor.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ever going to be mine.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it shouldn't be, because that's not, you don't keep your family things together, splitting it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew the opportunity wasn't there for me.
Okay.
And so real estate was the next best thing, but for me, just to get up every day and wondering who you're going to meet, what's going to happen, good, bad, or ugly.
Sure.
How are you going to deal with it? Now my why, although I still, obviously, the money, the opportunity,
Right.
but now my why is service.
Hmm.
It's how can I be the very best I can be, and I can have the very best systems in place
Mhm.
to serve the people, because the better you serve, the other two things fall into place.
Love it. And that speaks continued volume about you and what you do in your career, and we've kind of already alluded to that. So
Yeah.
that's huge for a why. And I love the fact that it changed for you, because that's real. I mean, different parts of our life and different time frames will adjust, but all of those things make a lot of sense, and you're making a big impact with that. So that's really good stuff for sure. There's no doubt, no doubt. So I think that you alluded to systems in there, and I love it into this kind of next question for some of the other professionals that might be watching this. If you could look back at your career thus far, Jill, and pick or choose maybe one or two things that you might have added to your business that you found took it to another level, what does that look like for you?
Well, I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
Number one, and I mean, and this might get some pushback, but you had to be so totally selfish
Okay.
with your time,
Mm.
with who you work with where you're, and totally focused. And it can't just be your whole family has to be focused on it.
Sure.
I mean, this isn't a one-woman show.
Mhm.
The son works with me, my daughter works with me, my husband backs me.
Wow.
And we decided in 2012 I was going for it.
Okay.
And it took 3 years, because 2012 was that great a year.
Mhm.
But my husband's career was a little bit hatching back.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to go with it, because I'm not going to have an excuse. Because the excuse I used for years was, those men can do it because they have wives.
Uh-huh.
Well, no more excuses. You're not doing it because you don't want to do it. And I decided I'm doing it. And if I wake up every day and I'm not uncomfortable, then I'm not where I need to be.
Wow.
I am so uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable doing this.
Do you hear that, everybody?
So I'm uncomfortable. I know.
Even Jill.
So I mean, it's just little things that I had to do. So I think that was number one, getting focused and getting selfish.
Mhm.
No more running down to Texas and seeing my family. They can come up here.
I love it.
I had to get focused on me.
Sure.
And you know what? Actually, my family, I think, because of it, because I wasn't in their lives.
Agreed.
Just, kicking it.
Yeah.
And then the second one on the systems was just trying to, some things are gonna be the same no matter what.
Sure.
Maybe it's a German in me, but you gotta get it straight, and because there's always that arm that you can't control, and that's human nature.
Sure.
So you've got lenders, you've got the buyer, you've got the seller, you've got the other agent, you've got yourself and the mood that you're gonna be in, or how things are reacted, or whatever's happened to you over here, and happened over here.
Right.
And so, and how things get deflected into deals that shouldn't be deflected into deals, but we're human. But they're the things that are the same every time.
Right.
So getting those systems and getting them in place, and I tell you, no one's gonna get them in place for you. You have to do it yourself, and then hire the people that will do it.
That is, that's invaluable advice when it comes down to that. That is absolutely fantastic. You're talking about your time and value, and I don't think that, hopefully the viewers are watching this show are gonna understand that it's not selfish. You need to be able to take care of yourself and your goals. The more successful you are, the more you can actually give, the more you can help. If you're trying to help everybody else and not focusing on what really matters in the order, then you're just gonna be spread too thin. You're not really gonna get it done to the level you need to. And that again separates you from everybody else, and why I'd like to consider you a Titan. It's just, it's family, it's structure, it's order, it's time frame. So that's really, really good stuff and takeaways. And then, like you said, I mean, it seems simple, but there is a lot of consistencies in the business, and there's a lot of headaches and things that pop up, but there are certain things that you know, and a lot of other professionals watching us know, just figuring that out and streamlining it the best you can to service the end user, which is the buyer and the seller, our clients and friends and family. So that was a really, really good takeaway. Hopefully everybody was taking notes on that one. That is good stuff. So let's go into the slightly tougher question. And this gives everybody a deeper window into Jill and who you really are. When life is easy and simple, we can all skate by, no problem. But when challenges hit our way, that really separates us from everybody else. And we all deal with them. We're all human. In the past, right now, or into the future, we're all going to have problems. So if you could look back at a time frame in your life, Jill, that you dealt with a challenge, that you overcame, that made you a stronger person because of it, what does that look like for you?
I don't know if it made me stronger, but it made me different.
Okay.
It changed the entire path of my life. And it was the death of my father, my first week of my senior in high school. So things were rolling along, and my father died. Now, my father was a manager and ran the ranches down there. Okay. So not only did it change our lives, it changed our way of living, because there was no preparation for it. Okay. And my mother at the time started battling substance abuse. So when I was 17, and I said at that funeral, and I watched that casket go on the ground, I knew my life was not over. It was going to be different. Wow. And it was. Now, I'm not saying I didn't have support. I've got 26 first cousins. Wow. Okay. And so they're all pretty much in Texas. I had aunts and uncles there. They were wonderfully supported, but they had their families. Sure. And I had my older brother, I'm the baby, had older brother and sister, but they were married, going and doing their things. And so I had a wonderful support group in college of great friends, and actually it was my friends' parents. Okay. So I was that kid that the parents would come and also take to dinner. Okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sure. I was the kid in the dorm. Yeah. And so that was hard, but my mom ended up getting help. Okay. And it actually prolonged her life somewhat, but I did lose my parents at a young age. Wow. So I think what the way that changed my direction is I knew I did not have a place in Reagan County. Okay. I probably never did, but probably the transition would not have been so abrupt. Okay. And we all struggled. My brother struggled, my sister struggled with that change and lack of support, because no matter how old you are, you need your parents. For sure. So I went on to college, but made me super. And I knew it, and I survived and did it. But it was because of the steps and the things my parents taught me up to that point. I had a wonderful childhood. Okay. But when it ended, it was quick. Sure. So that's changed. So that gave me the courage also to go other places and to travel, because I didn't really have that home. Okay. So I mean, my mom was there, but the way of life and everything else was so different. Sure. And professionally, as most realtors and anybody in construction, it was the Great Recession. Okay. Ouch. It just about broke us. Mm-hmm. Mike had a house out there because it built a spec, and I mean, it was like everything was great in 2003, not unlike today. And I can tell you the date, it was July 2007. Wow. The phone phone's not ringing. It just was so abrupt also. And then, and Mike had a house sitting, and it's one of the few, well, he was just finishing up because he usually he got his sold very quickly.
Okay.
But just, we weren't having people come in, look what's going on. My listing started sitting, kind of do some small pullbacks on the prices, but what's going on.
Right.
And this guy came in and bought it in September from us. And it was so surprising because it was the first time he took less than full price.
Wow.
And we're thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
And by that December of 2007, we were thinking in January, what are we going to do?
Unbelievable.
What are we going to do? Just thank goodness we weren't left holding any inventory.
Okay.
That's the only
Good.
thing. So then we struggled, and Mike had to pivot his entire business into flips. And that's what we did up and through 2012.
Okay.
And then we just struggled. And then we had 2 kids in college, and this, everybody knows this story, but this,
Sure.
but business-wise, that was the big one.
Right.
And then 2012 is when I said, you know what, I'm going for it.
Yeah. And that look at where you're at now, and I think that's the big takeaway for a lot of people. I want to address, and first of all, thank you for sharing, because that's not easy to do, to air our issues or problems out to everybody out there. But family loss, that's got to be the hardest challenge to deal with, as far as I'm concerned. A loved one, a sibling, a parent, along those lines. But to take away from that, at least what I got from you, is that you use that as a pivot position for a new direction. You said, okay, I'm here, I'm strong, I'm going to keep moving forward, and you did. You kept moving forward. You took what you were taught, and then you took it to another level. So,
well, there were some left and right.
Yeah, just
no
different
U-turns.
directions, right? No U-turns. But I think that that's a big takeaway for so many people, because we all look at it as, the problems that we deal with now, they're so important and they're so bad to a lot of people, but so many people have it worse. We're very fortunate and blessed to be around, to be able to do what we do. So just be grateful for what we have, and not just sweep under the rug the issues, but just overcome them and come through, but not necessarily forget them. So I thought that was huge takeaways: family loss and going through and growing. The financial struggle, there's a lot of real estate professionals in top tier that dealt with that across the the United States. So that's a tough one to go through. But Jill, look at where you're at now, and obviously doing the right things with the right people, having the right attitude and direction. It all comes back in a positive light. And bad things do happen to good people.
Right.
That's okay. That's a fact of life. But you didn't let it stop you, and that's where you're at. So I think that that's been some really good stuff. So thanks for sharing that. Hopefully everybody really appreciate that as well. So let's go into the slightly softer question. This is actually one of my favorites to lighten the mood a little bit, everybody. But I think that this is really neat. If you could travel back in time and give your younger self, any stage of your life, a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young Jill?
Settle down.
Okay.
And that's what my mother
Okay.
said. Slow down.
Okay.
Settle down. Just breathe. Because I just tend to just go after it.
Okay.
And if I'm not juggling fish, if I have things on my plate, then I will just find fish to put on my plate.
Okay.
That's all there is to it.
Where are you?
Yeah, exactly. I've got a free hand over here. So it just, it will all be all right.
Okay.
Because it's just all the time.
I think that, and again, there's a lot of other professionals, especially in the top tier, that are going to really resonate with that piece of advice. It's tough. It's easy to say, but it's very tough to do. You're wired a certain way. I'm wired a certain way, where it's go, 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 drive, drive, drive. You wouldn't have hit the goals and the notes that you've hit without that mentality and mindset. However, there's a lot of people out there that don't get it. They look at it and say, you're crazy. Why would you work that hard? Chill out, relax. So there's a fine line and balance that I think everybody can take from that piece of advice, myself included. Because if we're not there and we're not doing a million things at once, we're not being productive. We're being lazy. We're not hitting goals. And it's just a mindset mentality that I think every top producer who's watching this needs to kind of pay attention, that it's not all about that. There's more to life. There really is family and goals, and really getting joy in travel and conversations, just kicking back and enjoying it. So I think that's a really good piece of advice, not just for young Jill, but for everybody out there watching this, for sure. So let's go into the feeding of the mind question, which I think is really important for everybody to kind of get a window into, how you educate yourself and continue to grow and to learn. So if you could look at, kind of the books you're reading or have read, podcasts you're listening to, or maybe influencers on social media, life coaches, motivational speakers, what are you feeding your mind?
Well, coaching is tough for me because I already have this inert sense of urgency.
Sure.
So for someone to tell me, you need to go do this, and this, my head would just start ringing. I don't need anybody telling me to do any of that.
Okay.
I'm doing it anyway.
Here we go.
So I need the calmness. And I really enjoyed, really, it's funny, I really enjoyed Josh Black.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
he's a millionaire
For sure.
listing guy from LA.
Oh, yeah.
And, and we've watched him evolve too. He started off like a 23-year-old where he's working in his bed, it shows him and stuff, but now he's elevated himself up.
Truly.
He has some really, really good tips.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, you gotta go do this, you gotta go, but it's just how to, how to break into a different market. How are these people doing it?
Right.
And of course, it's easy to flip him off because you think, well, he's from a very, very wealthy family.
Yes.
But, I've seen people actually in our section of the world, we're from a very well-known families who have a really hard time making it into real estate. And so I think it's not a given they will get into it. I mean,
for sure.
Real estate is relational and transactional. The relational gets your foot in the door, but you have to be able to work the transaction. So these guys probably have more opportunity to get in.
Right.
But he just talks about what he had to do, and he's young, but he's very insightful.
Right.
And it's almost like when you watch movies and those writers can write such profound things, and you look and they're so young, but how do they have that sense?
Sure. Kind of an old soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's very good. So I enjoy him.
Okay.
And then I enjoy I read some Keller Williams things.
Right. Okay.
I know I'm a Remax girl.
Shout out to Keller Williams.
How about that?
Right
Yeah. With the work that they've done. I followed Buffini for the longest.
Okay.
He's very, very relational.
Yes.
In what he likes to do on his standpoint.
Okay.
And then I just read a lot of murder mysteries.
Okay.
And I read a lot of these things about Titans and other parts of the world.
Okay.
FedEx, read about Zuckerberg, read about those guys, how they did it, what they do, and what makes them tick.
Love that.
So that's what I kind of like. So
Okay.
I read a lot of John Grisham.
Oh, John Grisham.
So if you
that's
need
great.
law advice, just let me know.
That's right. Jill's here.
That's right,
real
Liz.
estate, law. She does it all.
It's a fish.
No, that's great. And there's a lot of really, really good takeaways and advice from there. Influencers, types of genres. I think it's not all motivational or business related.
Right.
The murder mystery gets your brain going, and it also, I'm assuming, mellows you out a little bit too. It kind of detaches.
It does. It detaches.
Okay.
Because I'm not watching TV. I can read, and it really just clears my mindset.
Okay.
Of texting or doing anything like that. You have the business part. And also travel, because travel is so important. And just as the architecture, just the other things. So you can talk in conversations to other people.
Sure.
And just it just teaches you the culture. It's just very important to make you more well-rounded, I think.
I agree with that.
Education.
And we kind of discussed this before we went live, but having the conversations, the books we read, the travel we do, it really makes us who we are. And I think that more people out there, especially into younger generations, they're not taking the time to really enjoy travel. And it doesn't have to be on a crazy expensive budget, but go out and see things. There's so much to see in Colorado, just in our state alone, but experience cuisine and look at architecture, like you said, and nature, and have the conversations. I think that's really good takeaways. So just so everybody knows, I'm going to have a list of those sources, things like that, for everybody to consume as well and learn like Jill learned. So Jill, this has been a fantastic episode so far, chock full of information. So this is the last question to kind of wrap everything up. So if you could take a look at your brand, you as a person, you as a professional, and sum it up with a quote that you live by or a mantra, what does that look like for Jill McFeron?
This you have with the why. This could change on my daily too.
Okay.
It could be inspirational sometimes. Sometimes it's Zen-like, sometimes it's mother-like.
Yeah.
But today it's going to be fierce.
I like it.
Yeah, it's going to be, because I've been thinking about this one.
Okay.
Should give me those answers.
No, this is good.
It's everybody wants to be the lion until they see what the lion has to do.
Right. It's huge.
And I tell you, you just put yourself out there every day. Yeah. And if you're not uncomfortable, my uncomfortableness is reaching out, calling people.
Okay.
Cold calling, or just call me back in 6 months, call me back in a month.
Right.
Even wear my name tag.
Sure.
It's just because it's not something I did. But now it's something I do. So So your uncomfortableness doesn't have to be huge.
Right.
It can be just little steps every day. And it just adds up. And I think, too, were you trying to wind this up? Because I'm not done.
Oh, no, you're good. Give me more. Hey, everybody, I'll go as long as Jill wants to go.
I've got some more ideas.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I think in our world with social media and all these other genres that we have to put ourselves out there,
Sure.
that we're just getting spread so thin.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 things I do.
Okay.
Only 3 things I do well, and I'm not even counting putting out my signs. There you go.
All right.
You know, I can negotiate, and I can price, and I have intuitiveness in the marketplace.
Hmm.
Other than that, these other things, if you can't quantify what they're doing, I just think you might as well just be, you're burning your time and your money.
Sure. Right.
So I think we're all trying to take on too much, trying to wear too many hats. We got to do Facebook, we got to do Twitter, we got to do Instagram, and that's great if you can do it.
Right.
But it's one of these things you either dive in, getting your toes wet's not going to work. You either dive in, you do it, or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So you just got to agree what your 3 things are, and got to go from there.
Sure. And I think that's really good points to mention, Jill. I know that there's a lot of people that are going to resonate with that. I love that fierce nature. I think another adage into that is everybody wants to be successful until they realize how hard it is,
Mm-hmm.
how much work you have to put in to achieve those goals, to do that. And that's okay. There's a top 1, there's a top 5, there's a top 10% for a reason. It's not for everybody. That's okay. But the people that are out there that this type of content resonates with, they're going to be all about that. So that was a really good, quote to live by and mantra. And Jill, again, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been amazing. I want to say you're an official real estate titan in my book. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So everybody out there, thanks so much for your time and attention, love and support. I really appreciate all of you. As always, every Tuesday and Friday afternoons, a different Titan, a different location. I really appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. And we are almost